Well, very good morning. Welcome back to Planica in Slovenia. The news here today, well, despite these stunning pictures, the news is the weather is not so good. However, the very best athletes, the under 23 and under 21 categories, male and female, have gathered here in northwest Slovenia for the 2024 Junior World Championships in Nordic, the venue, the host last year for the Senior World Championships. Really is a stunning part of the world, tucked in the top left-hand corner of Slovenia, only about well, a couple of miles away from the Italian border to the west, and maybe 2 or 3 miles further away from the Austrian border, north of Planica. Well, a little bit of wind, not that that necessarily will affect performance today, but this rain that we are experiencing right now, surely that is going to play its part, certainly in people's moods and appetite to push hard. 10-kilometer classic today, 3 times round the 3.3, or it's actually 3.3 and a bit kilometers. The air temperature there, 5 degrees, so no real chance of this rain turning to snow, and it is, my word, that is going to cause some problems today. Ski technicians have been out, well, some of them it will feel like it's been all night, up early, testing structures and variations of glide and kick wax. Anyone who performs well today and says their skis were good, well, ski technicians deserve a medal themselves. Mila Andresen wearing number 1, representing Norway. A couple of minutes before she gets away. One of the big favourites, based on largely on last year's results, won the 10-kilometer freestyle in the Junior World Championships in Whistler, and also took the gold medal in the classic 20-kilometer race. So double Junior World Champion starting today. There's your first 10 and first 20 to get away today. The running order based totally on FIS points, and it is fair to say that the very best athletes will get away first. Tabitha Williams going off 39th, had a terrific result a couple of days ago in the 20-kilometer freestyle, coming in 21st, equaling her best ever result at international level, slowly picking her way up into the elite level, where colleagues, teammates, Andy Musgrave, Andrew Young and others are proving that Great Britain can produce some amazing cross-country skiers on the World Cup circuit. 82 starters in total today, the last one getting away, you can see it there, 10:41. So this week, Nordic Combined also going on at this venue. I'm sure the weather doesn't help with ski jumping in any way whatsoever. So we have probably about a minute left before Mia Andresen of Norway gets us started. These better athletes now ready and waiting, skis prepared, selected for them by the technicians, handed to them at the very last minute, and they really are going to be hoping that the combination they've come up with is going to survive. It only needs to survive around about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. These conditions, that kick wax particularly under the midsection of the ski must provide enough grip on these hills. So Andreasen, away she goes, not showing the kind of form she enjoyed this time last year at the Junior World Championships. Bronze medal in the sprint is good, but when you take several golds the year before, when you're a year younger, then just one bronze isn't going to satisfy her. Samantha Smith of the USA, silver in the sprint races 4 days ago. 15th was the best she could perform in the 20 kilometer. This time last year she was top 10 in every race at the Junior World Championships, but didn't make the podium at all. Well, she's already bettered that. Skis look to be gliding well. She's strong, powerful, dynamic skier. Olaine Vestad of Norway, the second Norwegian, raced in Whistler last year, owning the 10 kilometer freestyle, was 4th on that day. Hasn't yet raced at World Cup level for Norway. Not easy getting into the Norwegian World Cup team. So much strength in Norway, so much ability, and yeah, makes it very difficult. Iris de Martin Pinter, 19-year-old, 5th in the sprints at the start of the week, just inside the top 10 in the 20 kilometer on Wednesday. Regular medalist at Alpine Cup this year in Europe on all distances. Selected to race for Italy in the Tour de Ski in Tobak last month. Eva Ingerbritsen. Now there's a well-known name globally. Did well in 20 kilometer race, freestyle, 5th place. 1 place better than last year in Whistler, where she was 6th. National junior champion in 5 kilometers 2 years ago, the age group that she was at. So she's been on the radar of the Norwegian selectors for a few years now. Charlotte Bohm of Germany, the first of the Germans, the best really of the Germans so far this week. Still looking to secure a medal at these championships, mid-30s in every one of the events so far. Next to get away will be arguably the star of the show, not necessarily because she's outperformed or outshone many others, but largely because she's from Andorra, and what a star she is becoming. Fastest to qualify on Monday, made it look easy. Won the sprint, made that look easy, and took a bronze medal in the 20 kilometer race as well 2 days ago. So she starts today. Andorra really have an extraordinarily gifted cross-country skier developing, and look out for her in the World Cup. Almost certainly the rest of the season this year. Evelina Krusell of Sweden just missed out on a medal on Wednesday. 4th place, 7 seconds behind Del Rio, and that was down to Del Rio's really impressive sprinting ability. Pulled away, opened up a gap of around about 40 meters going into the finish line. Annika Sand, representing Norway, didn't miss out on Wednesday. Silver medal. The best result for Norway, or at least the Norway women at this level so far. The under 21 category represented Norway at the Junior World Championship last year. 10th in the 20 kilometer classic. Picked up that every year they switch 20 kilometer freestyle 1 year, the next year it's classic, and the 10 kilometer classic 1 year, the next year it's freestyle. Erika Laven of Sweden comes from Asana Guldspin, Gold Town as it's known in Sweden, largely due to the number of superstars they produced in the 80s, the likes of Basberg, Jan Ottersen, Togli Modern, desperately unlucky on Monday. Made the finals in the sprints, but didn't progress beyond there. Eva Thurston of USA, second of the USA athletes to get away, second quickest in qualification on Monday, just behind Del Rio. Hard to say if that proved to be too much effort for her, because she failed then to progress beyond the quarterfinals in the skating sprint races. Skis look like they're gliding well. One or two athletes, as they've left the start gate, slamming their skis down on the track, slapping them down, because the ice has already started to form under the foot, under the ski, where the ski touches the ground when they press down. Elin Naisland of Sweden raced for Sweden in the World Cup last year. Sprints, you're a regular of cross country, you'll understand that that alone is an achievement all by itself, given how strong the sprinters are in the women's class in Sweden. So the first of our athletes up and past the first checkpoint was Andresen. Forgive me, no, actually it was a second checkpoint, and Sam Smith has gone through there, I think going through just 1 or 2 seconds ahead. Italy's Maria Gismondi, winner on Wednesday, so starts this race as one of the junior world champions with Gina Del Rio. Nina Schumberger of USA, so 3 American athletes in the top 15 ranked at this level represented the USA last year and the year before at Junior World Championships. So here we go, number 4. This is Iris Di Martin Pinter approaching the 1.9 kilometer checkpoint. Currently, Samantha Smith in first place. Pinter coming through 1.4 seconds down. The technique's looking good. The reason I say that is because if the wax isn't working, the technique will look dreadful. Ramona Schupper of Switzerland gets away, number 15. Sylvie Kempe, pretty sure she was so frustrated 2 days ago when trying to take a drink coming through the stadium. She got tangled, possibly in her own ski poles, but had a little bit of a fall. Not the best of starts there, just a little hesitant getting out of the ski gate. Inga Britson of Norway approaching 1.9 kilometers, so effectively, not quite, but effectively halfway around, up at the near the highest point of this course. Gives us a sense of how they are going. Gina Del Rio of Andorra. Occurred to me this morning that these conditions might be the kind of conditions that someone would choose possibly to go waxless or without a grip wax, and it's not the kind of course that you would rule that kind of thing out for. Certainly Andy Musgrave of Great Britain, if he was here competing in a 10 kilometer classic race in these conditions, he would use his super strength to double pole around this course, and it might well pay off. So Del Rio coming through, wearing number 7, securing fastest time to the 1.9 kilometer checkpoint. Italy's Virginia China, one of 3 Italians racing today, all 3 getting away in the top 20. Just checking I'm right about that. I think there might be one other. Yes, Beatrice Laurent gets away, number 26, so we'll see her leave in about 3 minutes time. Mira Göransson of Sweden. What a depth of quality athletes they have, certainly on the Swedish women's side. Erika Levin, well, way to go before she passes the timing marker. And technically looks strong. Kick wax seems to be working fairly well. As I say that, she breaks into double pole. That's often a sign that it's not working too well, but yep. At this stage, 12 seconds down on Del Rio. 12 seconds over just short of 2 kilometers is quite a margin. Magdalena Richter of Germany. 22. Get a sense of how her skis are gliding. Nora Kataya. Love the name Nora. Is making a comeback in the UK as a baby's name. When I was a child, everyone's granny was called Nora. Now there's far more babies around with the name Nora. This is Ellen Naisland. Of course, in that distinctive Swedish suit. Elena Berthet of France. Focused. So, here's Del Rio coming through the stadium. First time. Martin Pinter currently holding the fastest check time at 3.3 kilometers. Well, 3-second improvement. Doesn't look much, but when you have a sprint finish, as clearly Gina Del Rio does, you can afford to accelerate over the last kilometer. And the way she accelerates, you could expect her to increase her pace and open up a considerable margin. Evelina Cressel just off the pace of the Andorran athlete, as Beatrice Laurent gets away, the fourth of the Italians racing, representing Italy at the championship. Nadia Steiger of Switzerland keeps the skis moving. The reason they do that is if you stand still too long, these icy conditions, tiny little crystals can gather on the bottom of the skis, and that affects your exit out of the stadium when you really want the glide to be as good, as effective as possible. Leven, we saw she was about 10 seconds down at the highest point. She's going to be a little more than that, I'm afraid, by the time she comes through the stadium for the first time. "17 seconds down at this stage, and that suggests, unless she is pacing it wonderfully, which I suspect isn't the case, suggests she's going to be a minute off the pace by the end of the race today. Number 20 is Mira Göransson, and she's managed to just slot in right behind Samantha Smith. And well, given that Samantha Smith is a loop ahead of her, Sam's going to be hoping she comes past. Göransson moves past her, fresher legs, and Smith would then be able to use her as a pacer. Karen Takayama of Japan, representing Nihon University Ski Club. Great conditions in Japan for cross-country skiing, and so much investment has been made over the years. Don't tend to think of Japan as a winter nation so much, but they've hosted the Winter Olympics many times, and since Nagano in '98, a lot of money going into their cross-country skiers. 31 is Heidi Convard of France. Starts today with a yellow card. It says on my start list that means she's had an infringement. She'll have to be careful today. So here comes Sam Smith, and tucked in right behind her will be Mira Goransson. Both of them looking like the ski wax is working well enough. Watched some of the athletes ski up this hill earlier on this morning, and they really weren't sticking to the snow. Iris de Martin Pinter coming through, or approaching I should say, the 5.2 kilometer point. Sam Smith just past the halfway point in 14:41. Conditions are slow today. That is a slow time for 5 kilometers. The best runners in the world can do that on foot, more or less. So De Pinter, he's approaching that checkpoint, just snatches it. 0.4 of a second. You can see the wax not working brilliantly. De Martin Pinter, I apologize, having to put in a bit of a Kleibo clot where the body weight goes up and down a little more to ensure that the middle of the ski, when it hits the snow, it sticks just for a second. Timing is so critical. And when the conditions are tricky, you have to vary your technique to ensure the grip wax will work. So 5.2 kilometers. Looks to me as if Gina Del Rio at this point, representing Andorra, looking today to secure her second gold medal, her third medal of these championships, and at the moment it is looking good. Out of the tracks, often that means you get slightly better traction back into that those spores. Now harder to relax when you come out of the tracks, but usually get a better grip, and she's already made up almost all of the 30 seconds difference between her start time and Charlotte Bohm of Germany. Will almost certainly go past her on this downhill and around the next bend. '25 is Anna Millerska of the Czech Republic. Here comes number 8, Evelina Krusell. Has represented Sweden, said earlier at World Cup, just one occasion. That was at the start of December in the 10 kilometer freestyle event, 36 that day. Lodzi of Poland, going off number 38, not quite halfway through the start list yet. Many of these athletes will be finished, warmed down, and enjoying a hot brew in the team tent by the time the last of the athletes get away. That's a powerful start. All of the athletes, arguably all of them outside of the top 25, not really expecting a win. Tabitha Williams of Great Britain. Well, what a great result she had a couple of days ago. 21st in the 20 kilometer freestyle. Several big names at this level behind her on the results list. Equaled her best ever at international level. Wants to improve on that today. That will be tough. Has she got the right stick wax and glide wax? We'll soon find out. Vistad of Norway comes through third. In third place, and here is number 4, Iris Martin Pinter probably just about to, no, not quite. Didn't manage to snatch first place at the 6.6 kilometer point. That best time still being held by number 2, the USA Samantha Smith. Ingebrigtsen hasn't progressed to the World Cup squad for Norway just yet, just 19 years old. Still time. All of these races carefully scrutinized by the immense Norwegian selection process. Every ski club in Norway desperate to get one or two or several of their athletes representing Norway at international, particularly World Cup level. Well, this looks impressive. Gina Del Rio of Andorra already looking like the gold medal, getting closer and closer to going back to Andorra at the end of this week. 19 seconds, my word. 19 seconds up on Samantha Smith. Just looking back on my computer screen to see Evelina Krusell, well, of Sweden, comes through the 6.6 kilometer point. 5 seconds up on Del Rio. Well, that was a surprise. I'd missed her timings earlier on. My computer refusing to refresh itself and give me those times, but I can now see, yeah, 5 seconds ahead of Del Rio. So Del Rio will know that. Certainly Evelina Krusell will know it, as Anniken Sand comes through. Still just over 10 seconds, can be more like 15, 20 by the time she passes that timing post. You can just see it on her right. So 6.6 kilometers concluded. At this stage, Evelina Krusell of Sweden is in first place. Del Rio of Andorra in second, and Anniken Sand, we're in number 9, currently in third, and that's a fairly hefty margin of 17 seconds. So Krusell and Del Rio way out in front at the moment, and as I look back, my timing splits for the rest of the field. Martin Pinter going well, wearing number 4, seems to have dropped off the pace a little by the time she got to the 6.6 kilometer point, so had a good start to this race, but it really isn't going so well for Martin Pinter now in the second 5 kilometers of this 10 kilometer classic Junior World Championships event. So Erika Lavren of Sweden, well, I said it would be more or less a minute by the end of the race. It's already approaching that, so things not going well for Lavren of Sweden, and given her ability, my assumption, I guess, is that that's something to do with the kick wax or the glide wax. Either it's too slow because it's too sticky and that's been over-egged, or she's too slow because it's not gripping and she's struggling to get up the hills. Andreasen slipping there a little bit, comes out of the track. She's on her last loop. Last time she'll ski up this hill, 1.5 kilometers to go once she passes this timing one. She's on 23:59. It's going to be, well, it's going to be a fairly slow time for a 10 kilometer race today, nearing 27, 28 minutes. Anderson struggling with the grip wax and running out of time to do anything about it. You can see the Swedish athlete, I think that is number, my screen isn't giving me the number right now, so that's number 20. That's Mira Göransson of Sweden. and she is having to run. And when you see those athletes running up the hills like that, it means that the kick wax is almost completely gone. Samantha Smith also struggling out of the track, trying to get some purchase, desperately trying to hang on to one of those top 5 positions, coming through 6.6 in 4th place. Ingebrigtsen, head down, doesn't look as strong as, well, Nora Katja did of Finland, sorry. Technically struggling a little, probably something to do with the kick wax. Everyone today will have been challenged by this. Well, this is a powerful push back down towards the stadium by Ingebrigtsen, looking pretty strong there. The rain playing its part, I think. Good to see lots of spectators on this part of the course. Of course, everyone who had an umbrella today found their umbrella, and any plastic waterproof smocks that they had tucked in their bag from weeks gone by. Everyone wearing as much waterproof clothing as they can. So, local girl, this is number 54. Comes from Bled, just 19 years old. Bled is one of the most beautiful villages, small towns in northern Slovenia. Effectively hosts the Biathlon World Cup, although Pokluka is credited as the venue, but all of the athletes for the Biathlon World Cup stay down in that town, down in Bled. And if any of you have a Windows 10 screensaver of a castle with a church in the middle of a lake, stunning, stunning, beautiful. I see it everywhere I go, and that is Bled in northwest Slovenia. So Evelina Krusell comes through in 1st place for Sweden, 15 seconds up on Del Rio at this point. Sweden looking like they are going to secure, at this stage at least, looking like they might secure their first gold medal at this level in the women's field. Long time coming this week. More expected of the Swedish athletes, but every sign that the Swedish ski technicians who were up 4 or 5 o'clock this morning, coping with wet, drizzly weather, high humidity, desperately trying to get the wax right for today's race. Anniken Sand of Norway, 22 seconds off the pace, comes through in 3rd place, ahead of Andresen of Norway. Positions at this stage starting to give us a clue as to how the podium might look in about an hour's time. Many of the less experienced athletes today still waiting to start, as we see Vistad of Norway coming into the finish. Gonna go ahead of Smith, moves at this stage into 2nd place. Andresen of Norway holding 1st. Time of 27:27, 4 seconds down on Andresen, just 3 seconds ahead of the American athlete. Here comes Martin Pinter of Italy. Is she going to get 3rd? No, she's going to move down into 4th place. Started number 4, currently in 4th position. Here comes Ingebrigtsen. She's somewhat off the pace, not going to move ahead of any of the athletes that finished ahead of her, unfortunately. But Gina Del Rio coming through. She will move into first place. Question is the Swedish athlete that had 10-15 seconds on her earlier on, has Del Rio managed to produce a little bit of a sprint? We know she can sprint. We know she's good in closing. But by my estimations, it doesn't at this stage look like Del Rio is going to go home with another gold. Now that is certain. Krusell of Sweden comes across the line, 5 seconds up. Moves into first place. And Germany's Charlotte Bohm drops to her knees, face plants in the snow, and just allows her body to rest and recover, hoping some of that lactic acid is going to clear. So, Evelina Krusell just missed out on Wednesday in a medal, 4th place. Today it's looking like she might get a medal. And currently, it's the colour she wanted. It's the colour Sweden wanted. Coming to the finish, Anniken Sand of Norway just moves into 3rd place. Is that going to change? I'm trying to check further back in my stats, and right now I can't see anyone that's already started, at least. It's likely to challenge Anniken Sand for that medal position. Go all the way back to 6.6 kilometers, and she was in 3rd place there and had a good margin over Sam Smith, who of course has finished. Martin Pinter has finished. Bistat and Andreasen have finished, so everyone at 6.6 kilometers was at least 30 seconds slower than Anniken Sand. So currently we have Sweden, Andorra and Norway in those medal positions. And the way the start list is formed today, it's certainly unlikely that we'll see anyone way back further down on the start list coming through and disturbing those medal positions. But let's see, Tabitha Williams still out there. Could she have a phenomenal race today? I'm just going to see if I can get some split times on Tabitha. Erika Lavren from Åsarna in Sweden. Desperately unlucky on Monday, made the final in the sprints but crashed out in the final and was actually taken out, I think. Martin Pinter going down ahead of her. Naisland of Sweden, 1:12 behind. Thurston of the USA finishing the race out of the tracks. Probably convinced that it's a little quicker. It seemed to make an awful lot of difference coming through the finish, but number 28, Anastasia Nikon of the Ukraine. Great to see the Ukrainian athletes competing here. Well, she started 28th, and it is looking like it goes through the 6.6 kilometer point. Yeah. One or two athletes that started behind her have already passed her, which is why she can be therefore pushed down into 30th, even though she started 28th. So these are your athletes that are likely to appear on the front page of the results list. Sweden's Erika Lavren just chatting with Ellen Naisland, a teammate. Start to see just the difference in standard when you consider some of these athletes, certainly in the lower part of the start list, have only competed nationally at junior level. Some of the best athletes, some of the winners today, the medalists, have raced at senior level internationally. So a huge variation in ability and well, great experience for these athletes to be able to come and test themselves against not just some of the best in the world at the junior level, but arguably one or two who are well up there into the elite echelons of cross-country skiing. Number 54, this is Lucia Medja, local girl, comes from Bled. There are a few from Bled. One of the youngest athletes, 17-year-old Eva Milan of Slovenia. She's from Planica. So I suspect mum, dad, granddad, auntie, uncle, everyone will be out there supporting her today. Here comes Kempi of Finland, approaching the finish. Looking tired. You can see her balance has gone. The legs are tired. 2:12 behind, having started 16th. So expected to do reasonably well and unable to match the pace of the best from Sweden today. Further down the field, Idziniak of Poland coming through, 2:22 behind. Probably will lose another 45 seconds at least as Göransson of Sweden, Mira Göransson, comes across the line and just behind her, Skurat of Poland. 1.5 minutes behind Göransson, having started 1.5 minutes ahead of her. 64, this is Tia Janizek of Slovakia. Slovenia, I should say, forgive me, I read that wrong. Comes from Ljubljana, not far away, probably 45 minutes drive. Capital of Slovenia. Fujiak of Poland, number 21, coming in to finish. This is a good result. Given that she started wearing bib number 21, anything above 20 is good. Finishes 1:36 behind. She'll be pleased with that. That's a good effort. She'll be fairly satisfied. I guess anyone starting in the top 25 would have started today hoping that they could possibly make the podium, but moving up several places according to your start number, a good outcome today and evidence of progress. See the British flag on the right there. Great to see some British supporters out there supporting Tabitha and other British athletes that are racing here in Planica at the Junior World Championships this week. 23 coming into the finish, Nora Katja from Finland. Again, pretty good result. Is she going to get in the top 15? I think that's possible. Top 15 today would be good. It's going to be close, but just moves ahead of Lavren to take 14th place, 13th or 14th. Didn't quite catch it. Here's Cressel just videoing a little report to send back to, well, hopefully her sponsors. I'm sure the family will get it, but a good sign if she's already doing something for the sponsors, those who've helped her to get to this point. As we see number 25, Anna Millerska of the Czech Republic. Biathlon World Championships taking place as we speak up in the Czech Republic right now in Nové Mesto. She'll know that venue very well. Magdalena Richter of Germany comes from München, or Munich as we would say in the UK. 23rd place. One way of viewing results today, a little bit like a pursuit race when it's based on your FIS points, trying to better the number that you started with in your positions, as Laurent of Italy does. Laurent, I think the fourth of the Italian athletes to start today. That France, 1 or 2 places better than her race number, comes across the line in 22nd place. But look at this. Forgive me. I thought this was a finishing time for Janazic of Slovenia. But she's just coming through the 3.3 kilometer point. 106. Probably going to be more like 112 behind by the time she comes past the timer. Just ahead of Tabitha Williams in 51st place. Looks tired to me. Unfortunately, that's usually a sign of poor skis. Obviously can be a sign of effort, but my guess is struggling with the kick wax today, struggling to get enough purchase as you go up the hills, and your time ascending these hills doubles if you don't have the right kind of kick wax to get you up those hills. Selina Rossi of Finland, looking good though. Great technique. Love the way she skis. A little slip there. Often little slips, you go back into two-phase, back into that diagonal gate technique and try to make it work again, and if it doesn't, then you end up double falling. Boy, that's tough on the arms and the shoulders and the core muscles. A Stiger of Switzerland comes across the line, won't be happy, won't be satisfied. Stands at the moment. No Swiss athletes finishing in the top 20, according to my timings, at least. Here comes Heidi Convard of France. Comes from Courchevel. Good to be able to live at altitude, to grow up in the mountains, breathing that thinner air as you develop as a child. Well, this is going to be a pretty good result. 134. It's going to be about 142 by the time she crosses the line. Is she 140? Moves into 16th place overall, just ahead of Kataja of Finland. Perhaps a helpful way of viewing how good a performance that is. Check the start number. You're in the 30s and you end up around about 15, then that's a very, very good performance. Leandra Beck of Switzerland, from St. Moritz, another athlete who's grown up in the mountains, benefiting from the hypoxic changes that happen inside your system when we go up to altitude. Your body having to adapt. No altitude here in Planica, so if you have that ability, if you've benefited from it over the years, then you really benefit at this level, down at effectively at sea level. This is a Croatian athlete, number 67. That's Leona Garrick. Comes from Zagreb. Well, that's an easy ski suit to pick out. A couple of the French athletes consoling one another. Didn't pick up on both of their results times today, but clearly unhappy. And it's a big day. You train all year. This is the highlight. Certainly, unless you're already a World Cup athlete, as may be the case for just a handful of athletes racing today. But this is the highlight of the year. Perry of France coming through, has made up a number of places on her start bib number, has passed number 34. That's the Polish athlete. Give me missed her name. Payne. Leonie Perry, uncomfortable, crosses the line. For a few seconds, what'll be going through her mind is never again, never again. And then about 20 minutes time, she'll be thinking about the next race, hoping that she makes the mixed relay team for France. Number 80, this looks strong. Zupan of Slovenia. Now then, she is, 16 years old. That is great strength and technique for a 16-year-old. Racing on home snow. And looks to be having a pretty good day. Number 45. This is Heidi Bucher of Austria. That red suit looking a little like the Norwegians, so sometimes difficult to pick them out. Lucia Medja of Slovakia, as I mentioned earlier, from Bled, hasn't had to travel too far and will have spent lots of time training on these tracks. Coming through 6.6. She improve on Tabitha's time at this point, just does, by, almost a whole second. Knocks Tabitha down one spot. Away she goes, last time around this course. Well, there's no severely steep hills on this course, this 3.3 kilometer loop today, and you might think that therefore means it would make it a little easier. However, the fact that everything is skiable, that means everything needs to be skied using good grip wax under the skis. No point where you break into herringbone, some of the biggest, toughest hills, go into a herringbone style of running, planting your skis at an angle. We haven't seen any of that anywhere really, and that's the nature of the course today. So you could argue, if you had a course that was relatively flat with some seriously steep uphills, then the strategy, it would make sense to double pole on a day like this, not use any kick wax whatsoever, and just use herringbone technique, which doesn't need a kick wax. You use the edges of your skis to grip the snow at an angle, sort of almost 45-degree angle, and run with your ski poles just behind the skis. That way you would get fantastic glide on the downhills and the flats, and the relatively easy uphills, and then not need a kick wax to get up and over the top. Here's the winner today, Evelina Crisell. Off she goes. There will be interviews and dope testing even at this level. Skis will have been checked by the technicians to see they're put through a computerized sample system to check whether there are any fluorocarbons on the base of the skis. And if you start the race or finish the race with fluorocarbons showing, then there's a disqualification that happens immediately. We just caught sight of Tabitha Williams there, looking strong, slightly hunched forward. That suggests that she's having to use her arm strength. Strong girl, Tabitha. Fit athlete. But once you start relying on your arm strength to get you around the course, if the kick wax is not working, then it is so tough. As she comes across the line, that's Tabitha just finishing now. 37th place. Well, I assumed, and Tabitha, if you're watching this later, forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but I assumed, having watched you ski freestyle the other day, looking so strong, and many, many younger athletes, I think, favouring the freestyle technique over skating. A little way from Tabitha. Doesn't look all that satisfied with her result today. Having said that, if she does finish in the top half of the field at a world championships level race, and for a Brit, she can be very pleased. Yeah, so as I was saying about Tabitha, she looked strong in the skating race on Wednesday. 20-kilometer skating race. Going to interrupt that train of thought as we watch Booker of Austria coming through. Well, she's had a pretty impressive race today. She's managed to just scrape inside at this stage, just into the top 20. And for someone who started so far down in the field, way over halfway, the Austrian athlete, well, if she had been an earlier starter, slightly better conditions, may have even improved on that a little. The corners and downhill sections in this rain getting slushier and slower as a result, so the further back you start, the harder the conditions are for you. Add that to the fact that your FIS points suggest that your ability is not quite at the level of some of these leading World Cup athletes, and of course then the gap, the margin between the winners and the losers, or the winners and the latter finishers, let's say, is 78. You can see she was just using a herringbone technique on that little steeper part of that hill. Kick wax obviously not working. So Kazakhstan's Gerashenko coming through, started number 42. Is she gonna finish above her start number? Looks like she might, at least, maybe by one place. She does. Finishes the race 41st place and can go away at least with some satisfaction from that. For Janezek of Slovenia, just going through the 6.6 point, and this is her colleague. Failed to catch her number, so apologies for that. Number 70. This is Natalia Sokolova of Slovakia. Says she races for Team Render. Her teammates back home in Slovakia will be cheering her on. Probably a little disappointed at this stage to see the Lithuanian athlete going past her. Certainly looking like she has a little more grip under those skis. Look at the difference now, 51. Well, I assumed 51 was an Austrian based on the ski suit, but this is Zolfi Zoyaslan. I'm sorry, I don't know the name, and forgive me if I mispronounced it, but she represents Turkey. As far as I'm aware, the only Turkish athlete racing today, and, well, looking tired, but nevertheless, good technique, looking fairly strong. 54, here we go, I missed her a minute ago. Lucia Medja of Slovenia, sorry. I'm getting that wrong today. My start list not giving me the full abbreviation, I'm afraid. SL. And, yeah, from Bled. Mentioned her once or twice before. I will try to get her name right for the rest of the race. Here is another Slovenian athlete, number 69. Now then, She's from the town here in Planica, 17-year-old. You can hear the crowd cheering. There aren't that many out today compared to the crowds we saw on the sunnier days, but the cheers you can hear are for the local athlete. And well, given that she's 3 minutes and 3 behind at this stage, probably will end up over 4 minutes down. Nice to see that she, today, at least wins the prize for the biggest cheers. No surprise there. Number 80, third from last to start, another Slovenian athlete. Just 16 years old. Looking strong, good timing. Double pole with a kick. Just before you kick, you load the ski that you're about to kick with and then push back. Comes out of the track, either move to another track that looks a little quicker or looks a little, I don't know, sometimes you just get a sense that the grip is going to be better, and that's what she's interested in coming up this hill. See the body moving up and down, the head rising a good 6 or 8 inches as she goes through two-phase technique, desperately trying to get some body weight pressed down into the ski as she plants the ski that she's about to put her body weight onto into the snow, in the hope that on this occasion it grips and doesn't slip. So difficult when you start to slip. As we see, number 67, this is Leona Gorak of Croatia, from Zagreb. Definitely, to me, looks like she is having a tough day out on these tracks. Still only completed 2 of these 3 laps of this 3.3 kilometer undulating course, and 6:03 behind. Looked to be slipping coming up that little hill into the stadium, and if she's slipping there, then you can be sure she's slipping out further out on the course, further up into the course where it is steeper and tougher. So, number 54, local girl, Lucia Medja of Slovakia, started 54th, comes in 46th. These results will be analysed later by the coaches. Helpful to see how they performed at the halfway and the quarterway. And as we see Jaklova of the Czech Republic coming through, again 59th to start and finishes, crosses the line in the top 25. Sometimes the last thing you need when you cross the finish line is a camera staring down on you, and well, hard to say whether she was slightly perturbed by that, but as she considers her time today, and she'll look to see how far behind this athlete she was. Evelina Krusell of Sweden coming through today to take the gold medal, the first of Sweden's golds at this level. Gina Del Rio of Norway, currently, unless anything changes, which I doubt very much, her 3rd medal of these championships. Today a silver, so she has 1 of each, the full set. You wouldn't have predicted that happening at the start of the week. My word, 64. She looks tired. Tia Jenik of Slovenia races for the club in Ljubljana. Looked to me like she'd decided that the last little bit of that hill justified just a few seconds of rest before She rounded the corner and headed off back down towards the stadium. Number 80, Zupan of Slovenia. Coming through 2:22 behind. Reasonably good result given she was third from last to start. That suggests she hasn't done that many races this year, hasn't managed to pick up or secure the right level, I should say, of FIS points. It can be a little confusing, and I won't go there, but in some ways the more FIS points you have, the lower your ranking is. And you have to race, and every time you race, the points are, places are considered, and you end up with a world ranking, and it changes 5 or 6 times throughout the season based on your performance at the time. Maddie Hooker of Australia, the only Australian racing in today's race. Looking technically good. If you're listening down in Australia, I know there's many fans who listen in and watch these races online, live streamed by FIS TV. Good to see. Good to see Maddie looking strong, technically good. See the way the hips move forward as you transfer your weight onto that leading ski. That means the ski is propelled forward as your hips, the body weight through the hips, presses the ski forward before you transfer your weight once again. Ziva Melihan of Slovenia, local girl from Planica, wearing 67 here, approaching the 8.5 kilometer point. She will be so pleased. This is the last time she'll visit this part of the race. '81, second to last to start, Martina Flores of Chile. Well, here's where you really do see. Well, hats off to her for entering the race today, but here's where you start to get a sense of the gulf between those best, most experienced athletes, some of which have performed surprisingly well for their age at World Cup level. Many of them today, a handful at least, have even raced at Olympic level for their country. But if you consider particularly the Swedes, as we see Janizek of Slovenia cross the line, 51st place. So an improvement on her start number. Take some credit and some encouragement away from that. Stops her watch. Will want to know, almost certainly wearing a heart rate monitor, will want to be able to assess how she raced today. Was the second part of the race quicker than the first half of the race? A negative split, as we would call it. What you're looking for. You're pacing it really well. Martina Flores of Chile. Coming through now. To be fair, still quite a long way to go. Just 17 years old. Hasn't competed at World Cup level. Would be difficult to build up enough of a ranking at FIS points level to qualify to race at World Cup. Those athletes representing Norway, Sweden, perhaps France, Finland, that do get those points then have the difficult challenge of breaking into the ranks above them in their national standings. Kazakhstan with another finisher comes in 60th place, desperately sucking in air. It is painful. Hard to explain why it is difficult to stand up when you finish one of these races. Hard to really convey if you've never raced cross-country skiing. For many, many years now, widely considered as the most cardiovascular demanding sport that there is. Tops the swimmers, tops the runners, the athletes that compete in summer track and field athletics. Tops the cyclists just by a little. Certainly the very, very best cross-country skiers in the world with the very, very highest VO2 max, their ability to utilize oxygen. So every lungful of air that they breathe in contains a certain amount of oxygen. You have a very high VO2 max. You've got the ability inside your lungs to grab hold of more of that oxygen inside every lungful than the mortals amongst us. So high scores in the region of 85, low 90s even. Most good club athletes, 65 and 70. And most people who have either never competed or just naturally born with a very low VO2 max, and as a result would never really progress and perform well in an endurance sport if their VO2 max is low. Zupan of Slovenia, number 80, coming through the 8.5 last time up this hill. Technically still looking good. Technically it looks as if her kick wax has worked fairly well. She's going to certainly improve on an 80th position, way above that. Will struggle to get in the top half of the field. Is she going to better Tabitha? No, she isn't. So this gives you a sense of, so Tabitha already having gone through this point 5 or 6 seconds quicker than Zupan. Rivera from Brazil. So we have one Australian, I believe, one Brazilian racing today, one Turkish athlete who I'm assuming has finished by now, started number 51. This is a Lithuanian athlete, Gabi Buchti. Buchti family, if you're listening, my apologies if I haven't quite pronounced that right. So many new names to me, and of course not just because this is the junior level and therefore haven't raced in the more familiar World Cup race, but almost certainly her first international junior race. So that rain today certainly affected many of the athletes. We'll hear stories later about how it did. Earlier shots from the start of the race. Del Rio from Andorra. Here's your winner, Evelina Krusell of Sweden. Number 9 is Annika Sand, who came in with silver. Sweden, though, finally this week, third attempt at junior women's level to secure a gold medal, and Brazil has done it for Sweden. Del Rio, another brilliant result. Well, who'd have guessed it? Del Rio comes to these World Championships representing Andorra, goes home with 3 medals from 3 races and a full set. I think most would say they'd like to have 3 golds. Of course, that's so much better, but there is something pretty classy, I think, about going home with the full set. As we see Sokolova of the Slovak Republic coming across the line, 1 place better than her start number, managed to save something for the finish. All of these athletes now wondering if today's result will secure them a place in the mixed relay event in a couple of days' time, assuming, of course, that the country that they represent has at least 2 male under 21 athletes competing and 2 female under 21 athletes competing. Clearly that's the criteria for putting a team in, and not every team represented, not every nation represented here has all of those criteria met so far. So Zupan of Slovenia coming through. Will she get inside the top 50? It's looking close, and the answer sadly is no. Just outside, goes through in 51st place, collapses. Can't see the crowd, but we can hear them. I wonder if they can see her now. She will have just disappeared below those, behind those banners, but her friends, colleagues, family from the town will have been there to cheer on. Ribeira of Brazil. This is not a bad result. Comes across the line, 71st place, 7:36 behind Krusell of Sweden. 7 minutes, 36 seconds slower than the 26:40 best time that we've seen today from Sweden. Argentina's Fernandez Ricci, is it? Let me see. Number 72. Fernandez Ricci, Maria. My guess is she's glad this is over. Put it down to experience. Let's hope all of these athletes that are now finishing the race, once they've had time to warm down and, well, sort of warm up, so to speak, having got some dry kit on and thought about the event today. The weather won't help with this, but of course our hope is that these races, for these back markers, Bulgaria's Hristiva, 6:20, will be about 6:28 coming across the line. Yeah, the conditions won't have helped. Sunshine seems to have much more of an inspiring effect, but we're hoping that the very good opportunity they've had today to race at this level will have encouraged them to keep going and pursue excellence. Lajoki of Australia, number 77, comes through, probably improves on her start number by 4 or 5 places. Well done, Heli. Good result. Thank you for travelling all the way across to this side of the planet to race in Slovenia, sorry. I think my director is going to get to have a few words to say to me later. Here's results. Sweden first, Krusell, 26:40. Andorra's Gina Del Rio, the star of the show this week at this level, 8.5 seconds down. And Annika Sand of Norway managing to secure that third precious medal. Heidi Convard of France, I think I'm right in saying that's the best French result so far that I've spotted. Yep. We'll get Tabitha's result in a second. Should appear on the screen. We'll see where she's ended up. I suspect probably hasn't been pushed down by anyone else. There we go, 47th place, 350 down on Evelina Krusell. And to put that into context, that Evelina Krusell is possibly on a good day, possibly going to be in the top 10 in a World Cup race, and so to be within 4 minutes of one of the best cross-country skiers in the world at present is certainly an indication of what we can expect from Tabitha in the future as she develops. Maddie Hooker from Australia finishes in 53rd place, 4:19 behind. Nina Schumberger. Well, she expected to do better than that today. Started number 14. This is her third Junior World Championship. She's competed last year in Whistler and the year before that, I think, was in Norway. And it hasn't gone particularly well so far. Comes from Utah. And when the Olympics were held there in Salt Lake City, she wasn't even born. Best results so far in Soldier Hollow for Schamberger was a third in an FIS international race, 7.5 kilometer freestyle. Quite possibly Schamberger preferring the freestyle skating technique to the classic style that we're seeing today. Gabi Bicht of Lithuania still working her way around this course. Another slip. The fact that she's not on a particularly steep part of the course suggests that there really is either no grip wax left, ripped off by these hard, abrasive conditions. Most of this man-made snow that they've had to produce, and it's melted, frozen, and of course today melted again. Running up the hill now, just using the herringbone technique. The only way she can get any purchase. Emilia Bucht of Lithuania. Delighted to finish. Will have learnt so much racing today. Simply the process of arriving at an international event, going through all the necessary protocols, everything to do with timings, ski prep, ski checks before and after the race. See, the skis are taken away by the officials, they're handed down the chain of command, they'll appear in a technical cabin somewhere where there's a computer that scans them, checks that there's no fluorocarbons anywhere near the base of the skis. And so far this year, that has been a strategy that has seemed to be, I would say, incredibly successful. I have heard of virtually no examples of fluorocarbon bans, which of course is so tempting. Fluorocarbons on a day like this would make your skis so much quicker, but of course they're banned now from very good environmental reasons. Racevac of Croatia started last today. Well, this is a 15-year-old having a bit of a baptism of fire. Competed this year I should say, in Gagwan in the Youth Olympics just last month. That will have been quite an amazing experience for her. Great Britain getting some brilliant results out there at the Youth Olympics, Youth Winter Olympics, notably in Alpine Skiing, curling. Looking good for the future. So here we can see it's a little unkind, I think, to have the splits up. 16, nearly 17 minutes behind Evelina Krusell. Her time of 23:25 at this point. And we still have just over 1.5 kilometers to go. Well, it's been a tough day, tough morning in Planica. No one happy to see it raining as they looked out the window this morning, but Evelina Krusell of Sweden won't be worried about that now. It has been a brilliant day for her. Goes home with 1 gold medal so far and the title of Junior World Champion 2024. Second place went to Del Rio of Andorra, her third medal of these games, and then the bronze Annika Sand of Norway. Norway once again making the podium as we so often expect them to. But it's been encouraging this week, I think, to see that at this level at least, certainly in the women's races, we've had gold for Andorra, we have gold for Canada with Sonia Schmidt on Tuesday in the under 23s category. We had gold for Italy with Gismondi in the 20 kilometer mass start race, and the under 23 20 kilometer mass start going to Switzerland. Marina Kalin of Switzerland taking that gold medal. So we're so used these days to seeing Norway and Sweden topping the medal table when we watch cross-country skiing, certainly at World Cup level, and signs now of other athletes coming through. Tabitha Williams, one of those, representing Great Britain. Brilliant result. Not quite as good as her best result this week in the 20 kilometer race, but just 3:29 behind. Signs of future potential in the classic technique. It's been a couple of years now since Andy Musgrave switched and focused hard on his classic technique, having made a name for himself at World Cup level, largely in the skating technique. He's so strong, such a strong skater, much easier to train in the summer with skating roller skis, more accurately I think replicating the skating technique than classic. So you have to wait for the winter or go up to altitude on a glacier in the summer to be able to do proper classic skiing, and as a result it tends to mean that the emphasis almost subconsciously switches to skating with the younger athletes. It's just simpler to put a pair of skating skis on, go out and train. No need to worry about waxing. Even if your skating skis, the glide wax isn't that good that day, you still get the benefit from the technical aspect of skating. Go out with the wrong classic skis on, with the wrong kick wax, either too sticky or too slippy, and very hard to practice good technique. Thus, skating tends to take preeminence in most young people's training plans. Lithuanian athlete number 78 started 5th from the end of the start list today. Gabia Bucht. Going to be around about 20 minutes almost off the pace of Krusell. No grip wax whatsoever, thus having to resort to that slightly painful and definitely very slow herringbone technique, even just up that slight rise into the stadium. Fortunately for her, there's a little downhill, build up a little bit of speed now. Take it from me, she will be full of lactic acid. 7-8 millimoles of lactic pumping around her body. 4 millimoles is seriously painful. 7 or 8 and your body is starting to just grind to a halt. She'll cross the line and there will be nothing she can do. 81. Second last to start from Chile. Tina Flores skis for the club Andino Osimo. Let's hope they are watching,
Evelina,
listening
congratulations. First
back
gold
in
medal
Chile.
for Sweden. How do you feel?
I feel really happy about the race.
How did it go?
It go really well. I felt strong the whole race.
Are you happy about the result today?
Yes, really happy. This is the best race I have done.
Can you repeat in Swedish please?
Det här, jag är jätteglad och om det här är väl ett av de bästa loppen jag har gjort.
That's all. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Evelina, for that little interview. It is, I think it's telling, isn't it, that at this age, when you are still just in your
Gina,
teens, it's difficult
three
to
races, 3 podiums. How do you
respond.
feel?
Let's see how
I feel
Gina gets
really
on.
happy and excited for these results.